Welcome, everybody, both all of you here in the audience. Good that it's possible again, and the people at home. The SFI Inspirational event on Sustainable Agro-Food Chains. My name is Kees de Gooijer. I will try the ultimate best to guide you through this afternoon on behalf of the Sustainable Food Initiative. Next to me on the left side for the audience is Dirk-Jan Stevens, the Managing Director of SFI. Dirk-Jan, can you take a moment to introduce SFI to the audience?
Yeah, thank you, Kees. Of course I can. So welcome everybody on my behalf. The SFI, the Sustainable Food Initiative, is an organization that brings together industry in the food sector and knowledge institutes. And the aim is to work on a fully sustainable food production system as soon as possible, because that is what is required, we think. So that's basically what we do, and we bring parties together because we feel that it's not possible to do it on your own, first of all. So you have to bring people together, work together, and find solutions for really big problems.
And why is this event and the topic so important to you?
Well, there are actually two questions, Kees. The event as such is an inspirational event, and this is one of the activities that SFI is undertaking. So we try to inspire people, we try to inspire our partners, we try to inspire everybody actually to see what is possible. And we do that because at the end of the day, this results in new ideas, new projects. So we have already undertaken some projects based on which can be linked back to an inspirational session like this one. So that's the reason in general why we do inspirational sessions. And why this topic is important is because I think, simply speaking, if you do not manage the whole chain to be sustainable or to become sustainable, you don't manage to have a system that is sustainable. So we should not sub-optimize each and every part of the chain, but look at it as a whole. And I'm very, very curious to learn more about it today.
Okay, thank you. And right in the middle, it is Wendy van Herpen. She's the R&D Director of Ecosystems and Foods and Refreshments at Unilever. Wendy, where are we today?
Kees, we are in the Unilever Food Innovation Center, based at the Wageningen campus. So welcome everybody, also on behalf of Unilever.
Thank you.
And this is where we work collectively on innovations that are linking to the commitments that we have done externally. More plant-based, less food waste, more positive nutrition and sustainable packaging. And we have a mantra that we use here a lot. And we say, if you think you can do it alone, you don't think big enough. And therefore, I'm really happy that so many organizations are here today as well, so that we can connect with each other, discuss with each other to find solutions.
Wow, that sounds really good. You are one of the founding fathers of SFI, or Unilever is one of the founding fathers. What is it that it makes it so important to you?
Now, as Dirk-Jan already mentioned, it's really about a sustainable food system, and that's really also at the heart of the purpose of the of SFI. And what I see as this network is that it brings together the partners. And as I already said, the problems are big, so no one can solve it alone. And by having these inspirational sessions, by defining projects, you really bring partners together from the public environment, private environment, and collectively you can work together to really, again, find these solutions.
Good. There's a lot of work to be done. Thank you, both of you, Dirk-Jan and Wendy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the program of today. You can move slowly and quietly. There is good news and there is some bad news, and that is that Luisa is ill, so she will not join us today, which is comfortable for the other speakers. They have more time. If you have questions in the audience, raise your hand and stand up. That's very important. If you have questions at home, you can use the YouTube chat function, or you send an email to info@sfifood.nl. Please, all of you, switch off entirely your microphones. It will be horribly annoying. As you may have seen, the crew here is recording everything that we do. If you have any difficulty with that, you have simply bad luck because now you're here. So that brings me, if everything is clear, to our first speaker with a title that I really love, Penny Wise, Pound Foolish, on the importance of real prices to promote sustainability in agro-food chains. Petra is an agricultural economist working as a senior researcher at the organization formerly known as LAI, let's call it Wekker, and since February 2001. And before that, she had a splendid career at the Ministry of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality.
Thank you.
Would that do as an introduction?
I think it's
The floor is entirely yours.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about sustainability in agri-food chain, which is a highly relevant topic. And what I will present today is based on the work of many colleagues inside the Institute, but also outside the Institute from other universities. And I'm indebted to them, and of course, any mistake I make today is mine and cannot be blamed to the researchers. So, okay, the house rules. No. Sorry. Okay, sustainability is a tricky item, and I think everyone in this room has a notion on what sustainability is. You should buy local, you should go more vegan, you should not use pesticide, you should use fertilizer, you should maximize land use, you should be nature inclusive. There are many, many ideas on what is sustainable. And there are fierce discussions on what is sustainable and what is not. And also many of these discussions focus on different aspects of sustainability at different scales. For instance, going organic can be very wise in certain areas, but if we go organic on a large scale, this will increase land use needed for agricultural production due to the differences in yield per hectare between organic and conventional farming. We can source just local food, which would mean an enormous transition in diets. And also, how do we define local? If we look at the 30-kilometer range, you would have a completely different diet compared to a 800-kilometer radius. So there is a lot to do about sustainability. And of course, it's also questionable if local food, to come back to local food, is indeed more sustainable. But I must agree, buying your local vegetables in season is probably a very good thing to do. So, like I said, a lot of debate on what is sustainable and what it means. And in such cases, we need to unpack what sustainable is, and we need to define methodologies to measure impacts of different agricultural systems. But let me first focus on another aspect of food, and that's what we spend on food. On average, in the EU, we spend about 13% of our household expenditure on food. And this includes non-alcoholic beverages. In the Netherlands, it's just below average, and we are in the bottom 10 of countries spending least on food. And I would argue it's not much, spending 10% of your household budget on food. Although I am aware that even in the Netherlands, there are people who are dependent on food banks and cannot afford proper food. Still, the reason why I think we spend too little on food is the following. If we would take all costs of production into account, so if we would include all the externalities of food production, food would be much more expensive. And externalities, as economists like to call it, are the costs that don't show on the receipt. And food production involves all kinds of costs that don't factor into the price. Air pollution, loss of biodiversity, for instance. And several attempts have been made to calculate the cost, the true cost of food production. Some with the conclusion that the costs outrank the benefits. And according to a report of the Food and Agriculture Organization in 2015, the environmental external effects cost 2,300 billion United States dollars per year, and that outranks the global value of food production. Now, of course, the solution is not to not produce food. The solution is to look at ways in which we can improve the sustainability of food production and to diminish the external costs and to decrease the negative effects on the environment. Which brings me back to where I started. What is sustainability? We need definitions and we need methodologies. And here comes science. In food production, there are many trade-offs, and these trade-offs need to be clear. I already mentioned two. More land use when we go organic, a drastic change in diet if we go local. But science has been working hard to make these trade-offs clear. And that's what brings me to the true price accounting. The true cost accounting methodology aims at pricing all negative social and environmental effects of food production, which ultimately should lead to true prices, that is to say, prices reflecting all costs of production. And that's a heroic undertaking. There are many environmental and social costs included in food production, and it's very difficult to value these dimensions and also to compare the dimensions. How to compare child labor or bad labor circumstances with the environmental effects like greenhouse gas emissions or air pollution or land use. There are always trade-offs. So what is worse? How do you value that? So to a certain extent, true cost accounting is currently, and it might change in the future, but it's currently a methodology that can help you in analyzing the hotspots, as we call it, the critical points in your food production, in your food chain, regarding social and environmental effects. And giving this insight into the hotspots may help companies to improve their performance on these items. And Beur is currently involved in a public-private partnership called True Price, From Insight to Action, which is developing a way to monetize the environmental and social costs and income from food production, and also help companies in addressing these social and environmental costs. And for those interested in more details of the project, please visit the website. Okay, analyzing the hotspots in food production is not only important just because it's important, it's also important in view of the current legislation that's on the table right now. It's not agreed upon yet by the Commission, the European Commission, on due diligence. They have tabled a proposal in February this year for a corporate sustainability due diligence directive that provides due diligence guidelines for both environmental and human rights issues throughout global value chain. And the aim of this directive is to foster sustainable and responsible corporate behavior and to anchor human rights and environmental considerations in companies' operations and corporate governance. And the new rules will ensure that businesses address adverse impacts of their actions, including in their value chains, inside and outside. Like I said, it's under discussion. But this directive is also the basis for a public-private partnership I'm currently leading. Because this due diligence regulation requires a lot of information, a lot of data on how is it produced, what are the risks linked to this production, what are the impacts linked to this production. So it requires data on where do you source your product, what are the environmental circumstances and the social circumstances. Currently, good insight into this kind of effects is lacking, and that's why it makes it difficult for companies to prioritize where they should focus their energy on in improving their sourcing of their raw materials. And the public-private partnership I'm currently involved in tries to fill this gap, this knowledge gap, by generating sustainability profiles for the top 15 to 20 agri-product flows to the Netherlands or the European Union covering 100 origination countries and selected regions within 20 countries. And we've just started this year, and we're aiming for creating a dashboard allowing companies to just push a button and being able to compare the social and environmental impact of product X sourced from country A versus product X sourced from country B. But that's in 4 years' time, and we still have a long way to go, but that's the ultimate aim. In the consortium, there are a wide range of agri-commodity stakeholders, and the Port of Amsterdam is the leading partner. But as with true pricing, this project will also only show the hotspots, and it will show where companies need to take action, but it only shows the hotspots. So where to start to get a more sustainable food system? Well, the most pressing and urgent trends I feel that need to be tackled, science feels that needs to be tackled, are agricultural land use and climate change. Agricultural land use has expanded by clearing wild lands to grow crops and raise livestock. This has and had a severe impact on biodiversity and wildlife. And with the population expected to increase to 10.9 billion people by the end of this century, demand for food will only grow further. We therefore need to focus on high-yielding agriculture, and we need to turn to diets that are much more plant-based. Because, as our world in data has shown, if everyone shifted to a plant-based diet, we would reduce global land use for agriculture by 75%. And this large reduction of agricultural land use would be possible thanks to a reduction in land use for grazing and a smaller need for land to grow crops. Now, I'm realistic, so such a transition to a completely plant-based diet might be a bit too challenging to all go veggie. Also because I firmly believe that animal husbandry can play a very functional role within agricultural and within food systems. But I do agree that a reduction in the intake and the consumption of animal proteins is an absolute necessity to prevent any further expansion of land use for agriculture. So for me, sustainability is very much about decreasing land use by shifting to more plant-based diets and by investing in high-yielding agriculture, be it organic, be it nature-inclusive, be it conventional, but we need to focus on high-yielding agriculture. A second hotspot is climate change. There's no doubt about the need to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. And again, food production could play a role here. It is possible for every product to establish the climate footprint in terms of greenhouse gas emissions through, yes, it's possible to establish the greenhouse gas emissions for every food product. So incorporating the costs of this footprint through climate taxes in the price of the product will help getting the prices right. And it may also help steering diets in a more healthy direction, because the climate impact of animal proteins is higher than of plant-based proteins. And tipping the balance towards a more plant-based diet is regarded as healthy. Such an instrument, a climate tax on products, will be most effective if it's generally applied to domestic products and imported products. And there's also more logic in a climate tax than in a meat tax. Meat may vary widely in the impact on the climate. And the same goes for novelty meat alternatives or for fermentation processes, some of which require a considerable amount of energy. And this would not show up if we would just tax meat, but it would show up if we would introduce a climate tax. In addition, the money raised through such taxes can be used to invest in initiatives of food and or bio-based pioneers that support the ambition of a climate-friendly and healthy food system. And this could include innovations to reduce the emissions of animal husbandry, especially methane. Because again, we should be realistic as well. A large number of people will be eating meat and dairy products now and in the future. So investing in making animal husbandry more climate friendly is key as well. Although in the end, I must admit, eating legumes would be the absolute best alternative in terms of climate. Of course, it's no simple thing to introduce a climate tax. You will have in national discussions, you will have discussion at EU levels, there will be a lot of challenges. I still think it's something we need to think about and to consider. And life cycle analysis offers a very good basis to establish the climate impact of products. And the life cycle analysis includes the carbon opportunity costs, something which is easily forgotten when we just look at greenhouse gas emissions. An opportunity cost is the potential benefit you're giving up by choosing one option over the other. And every decision we make has an opportunity cost. One could be spending one's time or money on something else. You could be outside now, running, walking, reading a book, but you've chosen to be here. That's an opportunity cost as well. The opportunity cost of land use are the possible alternative uses for land. If we're not using land to grow crops or raise livestock, it could be restored to forest or wild grasslands. And a life cycle analysis offers a good insight into the different climate costs of different products. And shifting to a more plant-based diet is helpful in both reducing land use and thus also in reducing the carbon opportunity costs of food production. Likewise, on the positive side, we should consider the potential benefits certain agricultural land use may have on the emissions of greenhouse gases. For instance, growing crops that could be used in the bio-based economy, better soil management to capture and store carbon. So we therefore also should consider the possibility to include the food sector in its entirety in the carbon emission trading system that is currently only applicable to a number of big greenhouse gas emitting industries in the European Union. So to summarize, sustainability is an important but also very difficult issue to define with many trade-offs. However, science is quite clear about the two most urgent trends that need to be tackled: the loss of biodiversity through the increase of land use for agriculture and the need to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. Food prices should reflect the real prices of production, incorporating the negative external effects of food production. And like I said, it's very difficult to include all aspects because there are so many trade-offs, but it would be a good start if we include the climate impact in the price of products based on a life cycle analysis, and not only the impact through the use of fossil energy use, but also the opportunity costs of land use. And we should also consider the option to include the food sector in the carbon trading system on the European level, because, like I said, agriculture can also help in mitigate climate greenhouse gas emissions. Thank you.
Here, here, here. I'm trying to convince the Ministry of looking at the ETS, but good that we agree on that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Most enlightening. Is there a question from audience? Yes. Stand up, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Marianne Geluk. Petra, thank you very much for the very clear talk. We've just been reading in the newspaper that, the ETS system has had problems this week that didn't come through European Parliament, part of it through the Green Deal. But if that were the case, that the ETS system would improve, that the food sector would be included in the ETS system, would you still be asking for a climate tax, or would the ETS take care of that?
Oh, that's a very good question. I haven't thought about that, but yeah.
Is it not the same?
It's either or, I would
Is it-
say, yeah.
Well, yeah, it depends on how you implement it, because it depends on how you get the taxes, where you put the taxes. So
I suppose
I
it's
mean,
very
maybe
similar
what-
to this discussion that what we had in the Netherlands on the head on what GroenLinks wanted on top of the ETS price to have a Dutch CO2 price. I suppose it's a little bit similar to that discussion,
well,
right?
as I understand the ETS correctly, it's for trading rights, and trading rights is different from a tax. So that's where
Yes, but if you continue to produce, you pay a lot of money
True.
for that CO2.
True.
Yeah.
True. And that's in the end the incentive to change the system. There's a price attached, either through tax or a right that can be traded. But either way, there's a price. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other one? I have silly, although I know they don't exist, but your data on spending. Can you tell me where that is actually spent? What is the basis of the data that you showed?
It's based on the Commission's information, and for the Netherlands, it's based on what the CBS
And
collects
is
in
that
FNRE.
retail, or is that retail and the complete out-of-home section?
Both, I think.
It's both. Okay.
No, or just retail.
Well,
I could
better
check that for you because I
check
did
that.
know,
Check
don't
that.
know
It
it by
makes
heart.
a lot of difference, and I see a
True.
kind of correlation with the GDP,
Mhm.
except for the UK. What the hell is going on in the UK?
They Brexit, so
No, but they're still in the data.
true. Yeah, but it's an old figure.
Lousy
so,
diet, probably.
yeah. Lots of meat.
Sorry, online people. Sorry about that.
We do have figures on retail. We do have figures on out-of-home consumption. I think you're right. It's retail.
Retail only.
Yeah, I think it's retail only.
Oh, then you better check.
Yeah.
Could make a big difference in the.
Well, 10% is retail only, I think. Tricky question.
In this country, is 50% retail, 50% out of home
No, it's
altogether.
about 10% retail, and then out-of-home is the yes. Yeah.
Okay. And the reduction, you talked about it, we should, very careful, very nice, by the way. And if we would move from a democratic system to somewhat towards the east, and you would be the prime minister, what would you do?
Regarding sustainability,
Yes,
I would introduce a climate tax.
as
yes,
you stated.
as I stated.
And the
yes.
rest will be automatically in place then.
Well, it should be a climate tax. I mean, I've spoken about the agricultural sector, but to my conviction, it should be a climate tax on anything we do, including flying and transportation. And I mean, there is an absolute need to bring down the use of fossil energy and to bring down land use. So it's both should be addressed.
So it's Petra for president then.
I don't think so. I'm a scientist. I'm not into politics, but
And if you talk about absolute or relative reduction in animal husbandry, what would be a reasonable level of where we are now? The reduction in number of animals.
I always say if we go down 20% in the number of animals in the Netherlands, we will have solved a lot of problems.
Only 20.
Only 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the national protein strategy is, and the European one, from 60-40, shifting in 20 years to 40-60. That would be the same as the 20% in animals?
Well, we must understand, I always look at EU level. And in the Netherlands, we have a fairly big animal husbandry sector.
Yep.
Also given the conditions in the Netherlands that make it more suitable for husbandry. So if you just look at the Netherlands, I would say that it would be enough to decrease the animal husbandry sector with 20% to make sure that you meet a number of environmental requirements.
Okay.
But at EU level, to make it balanced to 40 to 60, that's a different story. So, yeah.
Right. Well, tomorrow we know more.
Yeah.
Then the government will publish their nitrogen policy. I hope we will have a peaceful weekend, by the way. But thank you very much, Petra. I don't see questions from online. Next speaker. Not yet. Kan je bij
Je moet nog 2 minuten vullen.
Nou, je mag nog 2 minuten wat zeggen. Dan. Ik heb mijn vragen gesteld. Ja, achterin. In the back, sorry.
was wondering, Priscilla Jurink, Utrecht University. I was wondering, you talked about the high yield crops, and I was wondering how much emphasis is there also on the composition of what you're actually eating. So are plant proteins as nutritive for the body as the animal proteins, and do we know enough about that to say high yields? So is high yields only about amount or also about quality?
High yield is about amount and quality, of course, always. And as I'm not an expert on the animal protein content and the quality, but I know that you can't replace all animal proteins with plant proteins. You do have need for some animal proteins, and that's also why I say I think it's okay, it's logic to eat some animal proteins, also because especially pigs and poultry play a major part in reusing leftovers of the food industry, for instance. So they are very useful, what's the English word, composters, users of residual flows. And that's also the research of Imke den Boer, you might have heard of it. She made a study on the most optimal land use, including animals, and that includes pigs and poultry as well, due specifically to this notion of using residual flows. And of course also I feel there is a place for some dairy as well, because we have a lot of land that is only suitable for grassland. And I know if you're a diehard vegetarian, you could say, okay, you can plant trees on grassland and that's better for the climate. But again, I'm realistic. I think that people want to eat dairy products. I at least would like to eat some dairy products, and I think there is a need for some dairy production. So yeah.
Is health as such also part of the PPP values that you have in calculating what is sustainable? I mean, if you have sugar beets compared to vegetables, that might also have a totally different impact on.
No, in due diligence, there's no reflection on health issues. So there's no comparison saying sugar beet is worse than wheat or vegetables. No, we look at social and environmental aspects, and social is all about human rights and child labor and good income, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
But it's a good
though.
point,
Yeah, it's
by
a
the
good
way,
question.
to include health issues. That might be
Very complicated, by the way.
yes, a route to go.
But it can be
yes.
done. Everything can be done. Who wants to raise his hand once more? We have time. If not, I see the next speaker. Petra, thank you again very much. Right.
Welcome.
Exactly there. Hi, Niko. Bank. Our next speaker is Niko Koffeman, From Grass to Glass Without the Cow. And I think there it is. And he's the member of the Dutch Senate, Eerste Kamer, I'm thinking, for the Party of the Animals, and co-founder of the Vegetarian Butcher, now a subsidiary of Unilever. And after that, he started the vegan Cowboys.
Together with Jaap Korteweg.
Together with Jaap, and with Will, and with many other people. I know. Before your political and business career, you worked for 30 years in advertising, and co-founder of Wakker Dier, co-founder for the Party of the Animals, and chair of the Faunabescherming. And this is a relatively short summary of what he all does. Niko, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very
This
much.
is very straightforward.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. Well, very happy to tell you the story of those vegan cowboys. Our aim is to make milk from grass directly, so without the cow. And actually we are working in a milk brewery. Today's topics, I will speak to you about the large market of dairy, the huge environmental impact of dairy, how we became those vegan cowboys, how we established the Cajun Gold Rush, what's the trail towards success, the real cheese from grass, and when we will enter the definite success. Well, milk production, especially cow milk, increased in the last 3 decades by 59%, and global cheese market is expected to reach 164 billion by next year. And global market of casein meats was in 2019 about 3 billion, and global vegan cheese market value is estimated to reach 2.5 billion. And a lot of people say, well, vegan cheese, it looks like cheese, but it doesn't taste like cheese. So in many cases, the package is more tasteful than what's in it. Dairy has a large environmental impact. Only 12% of the world's soil is farmable, and 70% is used to feed livestock. Well, there are a lot of emissions, water usage, nitrogen emissions, methane, and well, the welfare of cows and calves is compromised. Not only often, but always, you could say. So we decided to take the next step. So first people milked cows by hand. Then we invented the milk robot. Then we invented the milk carousel. And the next step is the stainless steel cow. Just no cows involved anymore. It's just a milk brewery shaped like a cow. How we became those vegan cowboys? Well, I think it's 12 years ago I met Jaap on a campsite in France, beautiful place. And well, it's he was a farmer, I was a senator for the Party for the Animals, and it's not a guarantee for a good conversation, not always. But in this case, it was a great conversation because Jaap told me about his meat addiction and his decision to be a vegetarian. So that was kind of a problem. And he decided to be an ethical vegetarian. So he would eat meat outside his home, but at home he would be a vegetarian. And then he found himself eating more and more outside his home. So it wasn't working at all. And he said, well, we live in a high technological era, and I cannot understand that we put plant-based proteins into an animal, lose, let's say, 90% of the energy, have to kill the animal, and then we have some dairy or meat. So why couldn't we make a process where we just use plant-based proteins directly for human consumption, making it, well, having the structure of meat, the taste of meat, the nutritional value. So maybe we should do that. And well, in your holiday, you can have fantasies about many themes. But after holiday, 1 week after holiday, he called me and he said, "Well, when do we start with this project?" And I said, "Well, I don't know about any project because, well, I don't have a clue how to do it. You don't have a clue. So what's the chance to be successful?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to put my whole pension in it. I'm asking you to put your whole pension in it also. And I think we have a 10% chance to succeed." And I had to discuss it with my wife because it's not only my pension. But she said, "Well, this is a wonderful plan, please do it." So we started the vegetarian butcher. And the vegetarian butcher actually was, well, let's say, a lot of marketeers said vegetarian butcher cannot work at all because a vegetarian never will go to a butcher store and a meat lover will never go to a store saying vegetarian. So what are you trying to do with this vegetarian butcher? But we started a little shop in The Hague. Just one difference between our shop and a regular butcher, and it was in our shop, no animals involved, but the products were exactly the same. So we had a chicken chunk, and we gave it to Fer and Adria, the chef of El Bulli, one of the best chefs in the world, and we asked him, how do you like this? And he said, well, I'm sure this is chicken thigh, maybe free range, maybe organic, maybe south of France, but it wasn't chicken at all. So for us it was, well, and nice to see that you could fool even top chefs. So in 2019 we took over Unilever. So Unilever decided to make all their dairy and meat products to have also a vegan variant. And with the money from Unilever, we bought a new project, a laboratory in Ghent, Belgium, to start those vegan cowboys, because we were aiming to free cows from the food chain. And in this casein gold rush, well, you may know that the largest protein fraction in milk, about 80%, is composed from 4 types of casein. And so far, there are no casein-like products in plants. So we decided to make milk caseins in a lab. And a lot of people don't know that vegan rennet already exists in 70 or 80% of the hard cheeses worldwide. So once upon a time you need rennet from a calf, but nowadays 80% is microbial. So we decided not only to make the vegan rennet, but also the vegan casein in the lab, and that was well, the plan from day one. Actually, you could say that it's a process of molecular biology. We take the gene sequence from a cow, we make a transformation in food fungus or in yeast, and then we brew it to casein. Well, we have a trail towards success, about 7 years in our plan, and 2.5 years are gone already, and we are on track. Well, we have a team in Ghent of about 25 cowboys and cowgirls, and they are very experienced, because when we bought this lab, they had a person years in experience from about 250 years. So we could start from day one, because a lot of other projects in the world just are starting with an empty building, new staff, and just a plan. But we had this experienced group from day one. But our workhorses are here in the lab. We call it Margaret, the stainless steel cow. And we already have the first casein. We organized a bounty hunt. We issued a reward of 2.5 million euros for people who can speed up the process, because our plan was to do it within 7 years. But if there is anyone who can speed up the process, he or she could earn 2.5 million, and well, that's still available. We have a lot of collaborations for success, building upon previous networks from the vegetarian butcher. And well, there are a lot of people interested also, multinationals interested from different areas, asking to cooperate on this project, and we are working on the micelle formation together with Wageningen University and Ghent University. Well, meanwhile, those vegan cowboys are everywhere in free publicity. In the vegetarian butcher adventure, we decided not to spend a single euro on marketing, because I've worked in marketing for 30 years and I know a lot of the marketing budget is, well, just gone without knowing what it's doing. So we decided to work with free publicity, and that's working very, very well. We also have a partnership with Westland Cheese. A lot of you may know Old Amsterdam. That's the product of Westland Cheese. And Westland Cheese said, well, we didn't realize that our cheese was so environmental unfriendly. So we are a family business. Once upon a time in 1936, we were working with fish. And then we decided to go in cheese, and now we have decided that when the family business is 100 years, we will be 100% vegan. So they asked us, can we cooperate on this project to make all our cheeses vegan? So we say, well, we have the know-how since 1936 and no cow since 2020 when we started this collaboration. Well, we are not the only ones. There are many projects worldwide working on casein in a lab. But the main difference may be that we are working directly with grass. So a lot of other projects are working with sugar, and we are working directly from grass to glass. But we have some competitive advantages. We have an experienced R&D group of 285 person-years know-how, dedicated know-how. We are from the land of milk and cheese, not only milk and money in the Netherlands, but also milk and cheese. We have a track record with the vegetarian butcher. We have a strong network, and well, we have some experience in brand building, so we can have the same experience. In the vegetarian butcher case, we decided to use the icons of the, let's say, Art Deco and Art Nouveau period, and here we use the icons of the cowboy scenery. So that's that are icons which are known by everybody. So everybody can have a figure about what we are doing. Some side effects may occur while making tasty cowboy cheese. Well, it will reduce land use 5 times. So we will be 5 times more efficient than production of dairy from cows is. We have a similar spectacular reduction of use of fresh water reserves and emissions. And well, we will have a much smaller footprint overall. Well, the dairy products have a huge market, growing need to produce more sustainable worldwide. At the moment, we see the cow milk price exploding today because of the war and because of, well, a lot of other reasons. We have a great opportunity for microbial fermentations, not only for milk, but also for cheese, yogurt, etc. And those vegan cowboys have the guts and experience and are strongly committed to succeed. So it's not about money, but we are strongly committed to animal welfare case, environment case. So we think within 5 years it will be in the shops. You can find us on social media on these addresses if you like. So that's my story for now. Are there any questions, maybe?
Thank you. I think inspiring would be an insult.
Yeah, well,
So,
that's fun.
Good,
Also.
good. Thank you, Niko. Audience, this is your chance to meet and talk with the one and only. Yes. Stand up, please.
Hello, Herwig Bachmann from Luisa. Thanks for a very nice presentation. I've got one question in terms of what are your biggest challenges. So if you look at the actual production of the casein in a yeast or in a fungus, then you go towards the downstream processing, getting functionality, and eventually making a nice product. Where do you see the biggest challenges in this whole chain?
At the moment, we have casein already. So the next, I think it's heavy to make it the downstream processing and also to scale up. So that's the main challenge of this moment. But within a few years, we have seen that maybe it couldn't be not necessary to have casein. So it could be that we can make the cheese from plant-based materials without the caseins. So it's just learning by doing, I could say. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Peter?
Klaas van Zuidam, Unilever, very interesting story. I was wondering what makes grass so special. You, of course, grass has proteins, so that can be used as a feed, but is there something more in grass? And I particularly think about flavors. With milk, you have milk flavors.
Yeah.
Is that coming from the grass or is it something else?
Now, the main reason is that a lot of projects are already based on sugar, just sugar. And Jaap is a farmer, and Jaap said, well, I'm only interested to do this project if we can do it directly from grass like a cow does. And a lot of people said, well, that's not very smart because it's not easy to break the barriers in the grass and then make a fermentation process towards caseins. So it would be easier if you just take sugar instead of grass and making sugar out of it and then make caseins out of it. And Jaap said, well, grass is growing everywhere. You can harvest it 4 times a year. It doesn't need any special treatments. So for him, it was very necessary to make the cohesion on the farmlands the same. So just give farmers a future. So that's the reason, main reason we are working with grass, but not because it's special or more easy, it's more difficult.
So you do actually use grass, which you probably press?
Yeah, but also in the steps we are making now, we are also using sugar. But our aim is to use grass and make sugar out of it and make casein out of this sugar.
So currently you just do a fermentation based on sugar?
Currently
period.
we have, like two ways to do it, yeah.
And have you got any clue? There is, during the big internet hype, there was a launch, an IPO at the New York Stock Exchange, which said fried air. Now we have a company in Finland, which said food from air.
Yeah, I know.
And they make protein with a lot of energy in it.
Yeah.
And how would that compare to what you are doing in terms of footprint and also in terms of price?
Well, we think that in terms of footprint, our footprint will be 5 times lower than dairy.
Yeah.
And it will also be much cheaper than dairy for that reason, if you scale up. So not in this stage, but
sure.
It could be a huge food revolution because of its better for the climate, better for the animals, better for footprint overall, and even in cost, the cost of goods could be lower than the cost of goods from cows.
Definitely. But
Yeah.
if you compare it to other protein sources, how would you be?
Well, you could say that maybe it's easier to make other protein sources in a different way, like this air project. But people are addicted to cheese. So we will make exactly the same cheese like you are used to. So that's the main reason. It's not, people are not consuming cheese because it's healthy. It's, well, cheese is the fat man's candy, so it's not really a healthful product. But our cheese will have no or low saturated fats, plant-based fats. So it will be better for your health, but also better for the climate and for the animals and so on.
Okay, I agree I see milk as a temporary aberration of nature on its way to cheese. So
Yeah.
we agree to that.
That's right.
But cheese is also culture, and
Yeah, that's right.
not.
So, but we think that the main culture around cheese will be the same. So every cheese in the world could be made by the plant-based caseins.
I'm still, well, the future will learn. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish you all the best.
I'm
It's
sure about it, yeah.
obviously, but if I had some, tomorrow is the Dutch student competition for food design, ecotrophilia. And last year there was a team from here who made green cheese
Yeah,
from pea protein.
yeah.
And it was amazingly good. If you would be blindfolded, you'd swear it would be cow's cheese.
Yeah.
So who knows what
Well,
will
like I
happen.
said, we are not sure, working a few years on it, that casein would be necessary. So it could be that we find another way to make cheese without caseins. But for now, we think if we make the caseins identical to dairy, we can make every cheese in the world like it's made
You
now.
get the cheese making, the maturing, and
Yeah.
everything. It's,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, okay. I don't see questions from online. Dirk-Jan, can you help me out there? Nothing at all, not on my screen. I mean, you're not watching that for fun, aren't you? Is it coming? Yep, they're working on it. They're working. So, any other question from the audience? Maarten, you're looking like, oh my God, this is unbelievable.
I can't believe it.
Nel, go ahead.
I think it's such a good story that I can only hope that it's as true as you presented right now, and it will be the success. You also showed a large number of people that are working in the same kind of directions. And this idea was very much grew up in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit about the other initiatives? Because you showed some of the strengths of your case.
Yeah.
What do you think of the strengths of the other cases? How do you compare to them?
Well, the other projects are mainly working on lactoglobulin, so not on casein. So they are, in some way, they are ahead, like Perfect Day. Perfect Day is already bringing casein, no, not casein, whey powder in ice cream to the market. That only could be done in the US because it's not allowed in Europe already. But we don't think that whey will be much different from well, what's already on the market. So for us, the main difference will be in casein. So there are some projects working on stem cells making caseins. Well, we don't believe that will be a route which is very chanceful. So that's the main difference. And there are some projects, small startups, trying to make milk brewed in a lab. But, well, the main teams are just 10 people and just some financial injections, and that's it. So I think that main difference of our project could be that our team already developed humane proteins for, let's say, pharmaceutical projects. So they know exactly how to do it. So that's the reason we are, well, some years ahead of other projects. But if if another project will be faster, it's fine to us, because our only aim is to bring it to the market, and it's not especially from us, but from everywhere, from anywhere.
You're standing in the back, in the back behind you. Yep.
It's a bit of a technical question, and it's not my field of expertise, but I'm wondering whether proteins that are produced in grass cells, are they not only on amino acids in the same order, but is also the glycation or the lipid structures that are connected to these proteins, is it the same as what you would have in a cow? So is it really the same protein, or is it the same amino acid sequence, but not the same protein?
No, it's exactly the same casein. Yeah.
You even know answers to technical questions like that, man. Wow.
Well,
Amazing.
I've heard about it.
Amazing. Amazing. Nel, you raised your hand.
Yeah, so my question is about the composition.
Introduce yourself, please.
Sorry, I'm Nel Zoom from NISO in Ede. So milk is containing casein, of course, but also other minor components. So how about the minor components? So if you make cheese or other dairy alternatives, how are you going to introduce the minor components to the product?
Well, we are already experimenting with it, so we are making very small cheeses and well, make analysis of the composition, and we think that maybe we don't even need the 4 caseins. Maybe 2 caseins will be enough. And about the fat components, we are using plant-based fats, and that's different. But also, it could add value to the product. So we are just experimenting with it, but we have a good reason to think that it's just, well, like I said, nobody is consuming cheese for health reasons. So if we can have cheese with exactly the same taste and with unsaturated fats, for us, it's not very interesting if there is any, well, let's say, components which are there in normal cheese. If they are not, it's not a problem to us.
No. Agree to that, Nel, or? Future will learn. There's no mic, there's no mic.
Well, for the cheese, I think this will be okay, because in cheese making, most of the minor components are in the watery phase, and while cheese making, you remove the watery phase. But if you also intend to make like yogurt-like products or that kind of products, then I think this might be an issue if you would like to have also nutritional parity for the alternatives.
Yeah, but even the micelle composition, we already had some milk micelles, cow micelles, and we let's say we build it again, so we put it out, the components out of each other, and then we build it again, and that's working. So could work very well, I think.
Yeah, there was one more here.
Sorry, Olaf Sliekers from Corbion. I was just wondering, is the challenge in making the casein, or do you also want to make a whole range of consumer products? Where is the biggest challenge, actually?
Well, we have different challenges, because in those vegan Cowboys, the main challenge is to make casein. But we also have Wildwestland, and there our aim is just to make wonderful vegan cheeses based on plant-based proteins, just that. And we are already in the retail, Albert Heijn, Jumbo, with cream cheeses, which are better than the cream cheese of Patouraine or Boursin. So even % is shopping, how do they do it? So, well, we are working on different projects with different ingredients, and our aim is just to make better cheese 100% plant-based. Yeah.
Well, thanks again. We'll be back in the panel discussion with you. One more, yes. I get signals that we have an intercontinental connection waiting. And there he is. I'm looking like this, then you see me, Dariush. Good to meet again.
Hi, everyone. Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Let me shortly introduce you. Dariush Ajami is the CIO of Beyond Meat since 2015. And he's the guy of this famous burger. Let's keep it short. KFC, McDonald's, many others. He managed a team of over 200 scientists. He's woken up for us very, very early. And he is in El Segundo, California, with a small outlet in the Netherlands. More news to follow soon, perhaps. And before that, he had a splendid academic career at great institutes in the US. I'll leave it to that, Dariush. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for your introduction. So it's great to be with you all. I'm very sad that it's virtual. I wasn't able to meet you all in person and get to know you and see how we could work together and collaborate. So, but again, it's great to be able to do it virtually, and hope you guys can hear me well. So, it's I'm always get excited to discuss and tell the story of Beyond Meat, and especially early in the morning. So here's the guy, Ethan Brown, our founder, our fearless leader, who founded the company 12, 13 years ago. And, with a single question in his mind that is, what if there's a better way to feed the future, feed the planet, as you see, the technology has advanced. I can communicate with you guys, virtually, but we keep feeding the planet in a very traditional way, old way. So we need to take advantage of technology or science in a better way. So again, our mission, it's to have a perfect alternative for animal meat, and I will later tell you why that's very important to do this replacement in a perfect way. There's again, we want to shift the question from the species of animal to the composition of the meat, and what meat is made of, and what are the ways to make that the same product from plant proteins. So why that is important? I guess this is you guys in the audience know this very well, and I'm sorry to take you again through this. And these are 4 pillars of our company. We feel that if we are successful, we'll have a huge impact in human health. 3 of the main diseases, like cardiovascular diseases, cancer, and diabetes. There are lots of clinical studies that associate them to consumption of meat, especially red meat. If you make a version that tastes the same and smells the same and doesn't have those inflammatory ingredients like heme or hemoglobins or others, reduce the sad fat, reduce the sodium. There's always, that could be considered as preventive medicine and huge effect on human health. Again, climate change also is not surprise to this group. If you consider the livestock as one country, they will rank number 3rd in producing CO2, but also all the green gas emissions are, very high in animals. There are lots of studies, different numbers, sometimes confusing numbers. But if you consider even the breeding of an animal, there are some estimate that 37% of the greenhouse emissions are coming from the livestock. Then, that's also very resource intensive. It requires lots of land, lots of water. It's estimated that 50% of ag lands are being used at least for livestock. To make 1 pound of a steak, you need hundreds of gallons of water. And last is not we sacrificing more than 60 billion animals every year, and that's not the human way to do it. That was the study that shows that if you put all the cattle consider cattle as one country, it will rank number 3rd in greenhouse gas emissions. So what is Beyond Meat's approach to this? Again, in our innovation lab, we are very fortunate to have the best and brightest talent gather in our program. We have 200 plus scientists and engineers, and they have resources to study meat at molecular level, understand that, and try to see how we could restructure that with using ingredients that exist in nature and in plant. So, and at the molecular level, meat are made of five type of compounds: proteins, amino acid, fat, lipids, mineral, vitamins, and water. So, our scientists trying to source those ingredients from plants. Instead of using, to some extent, meat is a muscle tissue. It's evolved to do certain job. It was not evolved to be food. But again, to replicate that structure, you need to have, convert the structure of the plant protein to resemble that, the structure of the protein of the muscle. But, we could use the same protein from yellow pea, from mung bean, from sunflower, and then structure them that way. So we could, instead of using animal fat, we could use coconut or canola fat, and then the same. So we always try to use better for you, clean label ingredients to our product. There are some ingredients like methicellose that we always try to remove or find replacement for it, and we have program to do that. So, the plant protein is also evolved to, to kind of support germination of seed, especially in the pulses that we are using. It's evolved to kind of occupy very small space as a storage protein. And the other side, as I said, the muscle proteins are structured in a linear fashion and morphology to do the contraction, expansion, and support the bone movement. So, we need to have a process, of give that, closely packed plant protein some energy and open it up and in a way that will adopt the shape of that linear morphology. So when we do that by using heating, cooling, and pressure to be able to do that. So, and throughout this process, we were very careful to not compromise any nutritional value of the proteins and the food. So I have one example here. In the top left, you see the scanner electron microscopy of the yellow pea protein isolate. As I said, those proteins are evolved as a storage protein to occupy less space, have a very dense structure. Then in the top right, you see that with heating and cooling, you could open them up, give them some different structure. That's the scan electron microscopy of texture yellow pea. And the bottom, you can see the scan, the same. At macro level, you see the loss of resemblance, and we're getting closer and closer. This technology will help us to have unbiased way of looking at the progress. But I guess, each of these analytical method have their own limitation. Like this is a black and white picture. If you use a confocal laser microscopy where our scientists colored protein in magenta and fat in green, then you can see that, there's big difference between Beyond Sausage and pork sausage, especially in the structure of fat. This is why animal product is, fattier, juicier in compared to the plant protein, plant-based product, and that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to find a way to structure that fat and improve the structure of the protein and overall. So, we want to be very humble group of people, and never say that we have done it. There's a big gap between our product and our target, but there's way to get there. Sometimes in an incremental way, and sometimes with breakthrough discoveries. So, and this is another picture where it compares some of our product, the beef platform, and the sausage you guys saw, and chicken with the target, with the animal target. And as you can see, there are lots of resemblance, but at the same time, we need to do a better job to improve our product. So, when our scientists working on project, these are the three main levers that they're always thinking about. The taste is king. We want to make something that tastes as close as the real meat. And that's, again, I'm sure you all know why we are doing this. It's one thing to ask people to sacrifice on their taste bud, giving them something, a veggie patty, which is very good. But, to have a huge impact, you need to not ask the consumer to make a sacrifice. You need to provide them with something that they are very culturally associated with, something that tastes very close to what they have in their mind, the meat. So we always, in all of our product line, we were making sure that, the team could, work as hard to replicate that taste, that texture, that juiciness. But at the same time, we want to have all the nutritional of the product and be on par with the animal. So we're using the same level of protein, trying to reduce the fat, but always trying to increase the health aspect of our product, and I will discuss that again later too. The price is a third point that it's very tough, and it keeps us very busy. How to again not ask a consumer to sacrifice on their wallet, and have produce a product that is in parity with animal meat, and that's what we are trying to do. We discussed the sustainability, and that's the title of this event. But the University of Michigan has done a life cycle assessment for our burger, our 1.0 burger, and there are more work that third parties, universities, and research centers are doing on our newer version. But the results are very, very impressive. They have found that Beyond Burger uses 99% less water when compared to the animal patty, 93% less land, and emits 90% less greenhouse gas emissions, and requires less energy. Numbers, and that's we are doing. We also worked with Stanford Medicine early on. This is the work that they have done 4 or 5 years ago. In Stanford Medicine, they used our product and has done a swap meat study where they use a group of people and ask them to swap the animal, the beef patty with Beyond product, and again the results were very, very impressive and encouraging. So the participant bad cholesterol, LDL, went down. The TMAO, which is a biomarker for gut microbiome, but also as biomarker for cardiovascular disease reduced significantly. And in a process, they lost weight. And 2 years ago, we built a partnership with the Stanford Medicine, and to kind of support them to build the plant-based diet initiatives inside the Stanford, and there are more studies underway that they have done with our product. And right now we are in 90 countries and more than 170,000 outlets, dozens of products in our pipeline, our innovation efforts, and also production spans in 3 continents. We have an innovation lab in US, in Netherlands, and also in China. And that will help us to have access to talent worldwide. But there are lots to be done. This needs more attention, needs more talent, needs more collaboration between industry, university, and also in between industries. So our approach has been always open innovation. We welcome anyone that wants to collaborate with us. And we will make sure that will be a win-win situation, whether it's academia or ingredient houses. I'm sure, and I hope that in audience, there are some of my colleagues from Netherlands are in audience. Feel there's a way to collaborate. So with that, I will be happy to answer any question.
Yeah. Thank you, Dariush. This is so confusing. Thank you, Dariush. Any questions from the audience? I can imagine. Nobody? Yep. Still.
Good morning. I don't know if you can see me. I hope you can hear me. My name is Marianne Geluk. Thank you very, very much for your presentation. What are your biggest challenges going forward?
Yeah, we are not short of challenges. Every part of the work that not only us, everyone does in this sector is challenging. From finding better way to purify proteins, structure proteins, develop flavor, bring all this together, scale the product. So far, all of us and our competitors are relying on equipments that were developed for meat industry that has limitations how we could develop bespoke lines that could increase the yield, efficiency, the speed, and through that reducing the cost.
Okay. I basically had the same question. The thing you just showed, the campaign, this isn't just delicious. Is that done together with that other company that I cannot reveal the name of? Maybe?
No, what I showed was just beyond. So
okay. I was just imagining. Yep. And are you also working on, we talk about sausage and minced meat and patties. Are you also working on something that would look and feel like a steak?
Yeah, I always tell everyone that if you walk into meat aisle or a butcher shop, whatever you see on the shelves are product that we are working on. Whether it's a whole cut of a steak, yeah, definitely those are all targets. So in this sector, you don't need to be very creative to come up with the next product. It's just most of the creativity and hard work goes to how to do it. The targets are there. Like if you look at the spend data, you could look at the rank of the meat product being consumed and choose your next product. But yeah, definitely we need to, and we are working on more complex structure like whole cuts of a steak. In KFC, and we have a whole muscle type product done for poultry, for chicken specifically. We are actively working on at least 3 main platforms of beef, pork, and poultry, but also adjusting, but again, nutritional parity is very important for us. If we ever make a cheese, that plant-based cheese will have a full protein and not only starch. So we'll have in parity with the animal product.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from online. Could you share a bit on your team expansion to the Netherlands? Interesting question.
Yeah, no. I think there are lots of talent. I mean, it's a pleasure to talk with your colleagues in Wageningen University and other universities in Netherlands, the Food Valley, and we feel that having presence in Netherlands will help us to have access to all the great talent locally, but also talent throughout the EU. So we are working very hard to expand. So sometimes it requires some time. The process of finding a place, and that's in the process. So we are very fortunate to attract talents. We already have very great talented individuals hired, but there will be always room to expand and add to the team.
Are you looking for anything particular? This is your chance now. You have an online audience as well.
Yeah, again, as I mentioned, we have a challenge in all aspects of what we do, from expert in protein, in lipid, in flavor, and color, and creating texture, and bringing them all together as product, developing product, shelf life, packaging, and the scale-up process engineering. So.
Okay, anybody looking for a new job? No, well, a question maybe.
Okay. Thank you very much. I've got one question which relates to one of the challenges that you mentioned. So you said one of them is actually protein purification. And from a sustainability point of view, you could argue you want to work with less pure fractions because that actually costs a lot of energy. So my question to you is, do you actually consider to work also with less pure fraction as a sort of different route to the more purified ones?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, definitely. We are looking into it. Yeah, I think, and consumers will be happier with those solutions if we could have, of course, sustainability and energy is one thing, but they always ask for, whole, to have as less as possible process. Unfortunately, we have not figured that out completely. Sometimes, the plant, I mean, as you probably know better than me, but, the protein, starches, fibers, all together, sometimes we use in all of them, but, when they are together, they get in the way of each other to create texture. But with that being said, we could start small, slowly, having some % of purified protein and other as a whole flour. So that's a great point, and I'm sure there will be innovation throughout the way. Very smart people find solution for it.
Okay, anyone else? If not, thanks again, Dariush. We tend to applaud, but you can't see it probably, so that's okay. We move to our panel discussion. You stay online, please, and sure. Niko and Petra, please join me. And this is tough, because I know many of you think, dear Chairman, we are wasting valuable drinking time. So
opportunity costs.
Yeah, opportunity cost, heavy opportunity cost. So let's start. Who can I give the floor? Question to either one or all of us? This is the tricky part. Kees, yes, thank you.
Yeah, René Quant, Utrecht University. We were having a discussion about climate tax. So there is a question for the vegan Cowboys. So what's your opinion about that, and what does it mean for the future of vegan Cowboys? Will you get a better investment climate? Is it better for the on the short term? And so is it also very important for all kind of startups in Europe when we get a climate tax?
Well, I think, first of all products would be, let's say, taxed that the externalities are paid by the consumers. So if we subsidize the dairy farming, then you won't pay the right price for milk or cheese or whatever. So it would be nice to have a climate tax, so all consumers are paying the right price for their products.
Dariush, comments from your sides? You're from the US. You're not fond of taxes, I know that, but it's a big debate in Europe.
I agree. Yeah. That's. I mean, that's why we need more, policymaker involved, and But yeah, that's. I have a line.
Okay, thanks. It's a nice bridge to what I was thinking about. We saw the introduction of, or the attempt to have a tasting of your competi colleagues from California doing cultured meat. And that was forbidden here because it had to pass the novel food regulation. And it still didn't apply for a novel food regulation in the EU. What could the legislators do to help the innovations that we are talking about? Maybe you should have a light version of novel food, I don't know, Niko?
Yeah, I think so, but I would say that well, in the EFSA rules, it will take 3 years. So after we finish the product, it will take 3 years to be on the market. So it would be nice if it could be faster, but well, I don't think it will happen within a few years.
And if we mix a little bit, the United States approach is that as a producer,
yeah,
you're liable, period.
Yeah.
So you can buy dozens of pills with a disclaimer, not FDA approved.
That's right.
What if we mix it a bit? Like, let's do the security thing.
Yeah.
On hygiene and proper processing and everything, and then you can go ahead. But if something happens, you're liable.
Yeah.
That would be more than your pension, by the way.
I think so, but well, at the moment, if we are ready with the product, we will launch at the US first because of the the regulations. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, anybody from the ministry? No comments. Yeah, I thought so.
And if I might add to this, regulation is good. We need to, the consumer need to be sure that what they eat, it's safe and, it's passed through all the tests, required tests. But again, I totally agree that, 3 years is a long time. I mean, I probably was 3 years many decades ago, and it still is 3 years, while we could sequence DNA in a couple of hours. So, but if you put yourself in their shoes, it's the job of FDA and NIH type of organization to do more clinical studies and more advancement of, looking into novel foods and their effect in human health, and provide them with the information. Biology is very complex sometimes. There are lots of confusing clinical studies, small clinical studies. Sometimes a job of government is, since clinical studies are very expensive, it's, to support those bigger clinical studies to come up with, better data and support this and find a faster way to do that. And in the US is not, Singapore is the only country that has passed cultured meat, but there are lots of discussion even in the US too. So hopefully the policy maker will find a better way, faster way, to approve all this in a best process, in a way that consumer will trust, the food that is on the market.
Thanks.
Well, actually, there are already precision food projects moving from Israel and Europe to the US because of the novel food regulations. Yeah.
In addition,
Yeah, but it's not the free lunch in the US. Like, if something happens, you're in much deeper shit than in Europe.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right. But well, still a lot of precision fermentation projects are moving to the US.
oh, okay.
may I ask something else? Because we're putting so much effort in producing fake meat and fake dairy products. We could also put a lot of effort in promoting legumes, or how to pronounce it right, peulvruchten, legumes. Instead of, we're making a whole circle. We have plants and we make it into fake meat and fake dairy. While we could also...
Fake?
Well,
it's not fake. Come on,
okay,
that's my next...
Dairy successors and meat successors.
Better products.
Okay,
Better
whatever
products.
is the political correct term. But we could, why all these efforts? We could also focus our energy on, just eating legumes directly, making legume products directly attractive instead of all these processes that require also energy. I can understand it from a cultural point of view that people say, yes, we need to eat, or we want to eat meat. But if we're so good in marketing, we could market.
Oh, I'm not, he is.
If you're so good in marketing. we could do it the other way around as well. And still, I'm convinced we will always have some animal production. I explained that in my talk. And focus on, getting consumers to eat more healthy alternatives, like beans and what have you.
I think the name is pulses, by the way. Not
pulses?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you like whole foods, you still may like some bread instead of a handful of grain. So, well, you could consume it directly, but still, yeah.
It's not quite comparable. I've been a vegetarian for 10 years, and I just used pulses, and it was no problem. So
yeah.
And to the comment of fake meat and why, again, why you are using plant, the animals are, very inefficient bioreactors. They the best of them, the poultry convert. You take 9 calories to make 1 calorie protein in a food chain. Right. So the animal part is not sustainable, and it's hard to do in future when we have more population. That's to answer that. But also again for the question of why we are not using the whole. There's a couple. The seeds are different, but if and through evolution, like first we were eating. We were herbivores, and but that requires that if you want to become herbivores again, and you're taking advantage of the leaves and grass, you need to chew 13 pounds of grass, and that requires like 8 to 10 hours of chewing, and then create lots of challenge. But again, there are whole seeds that are higher in protein that we got access later on. There's one thing is to target to make foods for vegetarians and vegans in the world, the people that have decided to make that sacrifice. The other is create a more sustainable option for people that they have hard time to do that shift, to move from the meat that they love to whole grain. So, and our target is those people. So this is why we are doing that.
You're right from the culinary point of view, but we didn't ask those questions when the soft drinks came on the market, did we?
Yeah.
You should text them as well.
Yeah, you should text them as well. So, but it's a nice bridge to what I also wanted to put in front of you. Like, we're on the production side, you give tax policy side for the whole. How about the consumer? What could we do to motivate people intrinsically to change their behavior bit by bit. This is an open door, I know, but go ahead. Not all of you at the same time, huh?
Well, I'm an economist, so I always think in terms of prices. And I think prices are a very good incentive to change behavior.
Yes, but then
And marketing.
I can quote Jos Hugensen, please calculate the amount of a kilogram of salad. It's more expensive than meat.
Yeah.
So it's not price only, I think.
No, it's mainly about taste. If it's tasting very good and it has a reasonable price, people will go over to plant-based foods.
So it should be cheaper than meat.
Yeah.
Any meat.
Yeah.
Also cheaper than chicken.
Yeah, but chicken should be less cheap. Should be more expensive.
If you put all the costs in there.
The externalities, yeah.
That's a nice one. That's a nice one. Dariush, from your side?
I mean, there was a very nice paper published yesterday with Dutch NIH and BCM where they were looking into the effect of increasing price of meat and in reduction of consumption of the red meat. It was very interesting that, when they have done lots of study and they show that if, with 30% increase in the price of the meat, there would be significant decrease in consumption of the meat up to, I think, 20%. But overall, the cost, I agree, it's very important. It's if you have an option that it's on par or cheaper, that will have more impact than something that is more expensive.
Yep.
At the start of my career, I worked in this house in Unilever, and it's a lesson that I think Unilever also showed us. When they took on butter and they put margarine on the market, it was a huge success. And one of the reasons it was because it was so much cheaper than butter.
Yeah.
And then in the 80s, they tried cheese. And the cheese they produced was based on Berkhout at that time in the Netherlands, was not a success because the price was at par with Gouda cheese.
Yeah.
In the UK, it did work a lot better because their Flora cheddar was able to be cheaper than the normal cheddar.
Yeah.
So price, Unilever has shown us, is a very, very important factor.
Exactly, and you need to consider similar products. I mean, you can't compare salads to meat, but you need to compare similar products. And then price is a very important factor.
Yeah. So, and this is from a country where within a month or so we all go for a holiday to, for example, France. And the first thing we do is to go to this nice nostalgic market where there is this one-eyed old 80-year lady who sells a goat cheese for 60 kilograms, for 60 euros per kilogram,
right.
And we buy it without any problem. I think it's a bit more complicated than it's the price only, really. Please comment, Petra.
Case, and I think also times have changed. I think this lesson from the 80s is something that we need to keep in mind, but obviously there are other factors there and we need to use them as much as possible. But we cannot deny that price is for a majority a very, very big part.
It's part of it, it's part of it. But you also know out there is the famous phrase, if it comes to butter versus margarine, I'd rather trust a cow than a scientist. I mean, everything is possible, right?
But can the cow trust the scientist?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them. Not all of them, but some of them, I believe. Yep.
Wondering how realistic is it to increase the prices of meat? There are rising food prices all over the world. I mean, I can pay, and probably you can pay much more for your food. There's a lot of people in the world who cannot afford it. So it's easy to say, okay, we increase the price of animal meat, but how realistic is that?
Well, it's a good question. And of course, if you increase the price of food, other things will be less attainable for persons. So they might not go on holiday, or they might not drive a car, But in the end, I still believe that we should pay the right prices for food.
Yeah.
And if we can't pay the right prices for food, I always consider that, at least in Western Europe, a social problem. I mean, currently as well, I mean, due to the war in Ukraine, prices of food are going up. There's enough food in the world to feed everyone, but the prices are going up. And then it's a problem of accessibility, of being able to buy the food because you do not have enough income. And that's a social problem. So,
But we are paying the price, but not at the butcher store, but just by tax. So meat should be 40% more expensive than it is now because of the externalities.
it depends on the type of meat, but
Yeah,
Then again,
that's right.
we have to realize, but that's a good question, but we have to realize that we move in a world where there is a factor of 100, depending on the occasion where you buy the product. So if you make a pancake, Dariush, that's our national dish, one of them. You buy the wheat flour, you buy the eggs, you buy the milk, you make them, they're 5 cents each. If you buy them pre-cooked from the retail store, they will be 50 cents a piece. If you go out in a restaurant and buy them, you will pay at least €5 a piece. Now try to imagine this for a cell phone. It's just not there. So the price is a factor, but it's not a determining everything factor. Definitely not, I hope, at least.
But the issue you're raising is broader, I think, than food. I mean, if you look at the current discussion on flying and on increasing the price of flying, and it gives a lot of discussion as well, because people say, well, poor people can't fly anymore. That would be the ultimate result of paying a true price for flying. And with true prices for food, you might want to think about refunding lower income so they have an acceptable diet or have a good diet if their income is not enough. So there is a social issue. But in the end, I mean, it should be a true price.
As it is now, without all the external factors, they can't afford Wagyu beef at all. I mean,
well, the social issue is broader than the Netherlands. So it's not only about the poor people in the Netherlands, but also the poor people in Africa. So our meat consumes their environmental space. Our cows are grazing in the rainforest. So we are growing soy in Brazil because of our cows. So
but you can't blame the hunger in Africa to the animal husbandry in Europe. I mean, that's two different subjects.
Well, we are dumping our chicken.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
No.
Well, this is something for during the drinks between you two. Any other one? Yes, there is another one.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Carlos Núñez. I'm a master's student across the street at Wageningen University. So I have a question, an open question. So we have heard a lot of promises today, a lot of expectations. What is the highest ranking for each one of you? Like, is it going to taste the same? Is it going to be way cheaper? Is it going to save the environment? Like, which one would be the most salient expectation for each one of your innovations?
Dariush, your guest, you go first.
Sure. I would rather to have all of them, taste, cost, and, sustainability and health. But if it doesn't taste good, people will not try it. So, I mean, taste always is the most important and the first step to encourage more people to try something that is more sustainable.
Niko?
Well, we decided to hack every aspect of meat. So the structure, the taste, the mouthfeel, the nutritional value, so everything. And even the price. So we called our product gehakt, minced meat. We called it gehacked. And well, it was quite a problem for the food authorities, but well, we hacked the product. So in every aspect.
Petra?
I'm not into innovation, so.
No, but you have preferences, don't you?
Taste. Absolutely taste.
Okay. Yeah, taste is number one. Yeah.
For me, it's a great question, by the way. I just love new things. And they should taste okay, obviously. Yeah, go ahead, comment.
Those were like the nice promises, but then, like we are all striving, we're looking for to make some money. is there also a promise like we are going to create a new industry? We are going to create just new jobs. We're going to be creating, you know, like the future industry. That's also a promise, something that you expect?
Sure. Definitely. But is that the prime target?
I don't know, like
of the entrepreneurs, of course, yes.
I'm guessing that's a baseline, you know, like we are not the Mother Teresa of Calcutta to just be throwing the money into the air, but, you know.
No, that's not exactly how they work. No, I don't think so.
But it's not just a particular choice. It's about we cannot feed the world with animal proteins. So if we have existing croplands and we use the crops directly for human consumption, we could feed 4 billion more people. So that's the main reason to make this transition for me.
We could feed more people without clearing more land.
Yeah,
that's what you mean.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or we could feed the same amount of people with less. That would be my first option.
Yeah,
but
that's,
okay.
that's right. More nature.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays you can also feed more people, but it would increase land use, and that's something you would not
That's
want.
right.
And
That's right.
that's the argument. So,
Yeah.
Anybody else? We missed one speaker, so we can stop a bit. Hey, sorry. You're there. Yep.
Yes, I had to be away for a few minutes for a call, so I may have missed already a similar question, but I always wonder about definition of food. I attend a lot of these discussions, and but I wonder how would you define food, and should we have more clarity on how we define food? Because it seems to me that food gets very generalized. I give an example. I go to the supermarket. I have difficulty to say that all the food that is there is actually nutritional, and therefore maybe I would not classify it as food. So it would be interesting to hear some of your thoughts on that. And could that be helpful? Could that be helpful to give some kind of guidance for companies, for governments in maybe looking at how to approach it also in a fresh way? So,
A better way. You're aiming at a better way, I presume.
Well, I suppose you mean that not all food is nutritional in a healthy way, and that you would like to make a distinction between more or less healthy food? Or
I would say that in the supermarket I'll find food that has been heavily processed, salt, sugars, oils, and other things, preservatives and things that perhaps is not so good for the body, although, I don't know, it's a chip or something. That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking. So if I think about the vegetables that are around, that I can consider that, okay, this is healthy. I have a broccoli, I have a fruit that can be chewed straight away. I get all the ingredients and nutrition straight away. But if I go for the frozen sections and we start finding other products that are very changed in terms of flavor. It's very easy to play with the color. It's very appealing to the eyes. It's very easy to play with flavors. So could we be giving the wrong signal to the consumers? I mean, that all they want is something tasty and looking nice, and it's very easy to play with that. Should we maybe try to tackle this a little bit from a different angle, perhaps?
We have a saying, only buy in the supermarket what your grandmother would recognize. So that sort of summarizes, I think, your point.
That's not a saying. That's a famous American author with
Okay.
books, very worth reading, by the way. Yeah. But
if
you
I
work for
may add-
Unilever, or?
No, I don't work for Unilever.
Okay, because moving this away from a tax proposal into some kind of legislative framework, that would be the end of the supermarket shelves as we know them, I think. So I'm not too, I agree with you. You should buy and eat the things that nourish you.
Maybe it's, I don't know if they would disappear. I mean, there's a lot of adaptations that could be done, and maybe they could play a big role in supporting a transition like this.
They could, but it would be the end of Coca-Cola, to name one. How bad is that? I don't know. It's a good question. Sorry about that, Dariush. It's an American company.
No.
Yes, someone wanted to say.
You
No
want to
worries.
comment?
to add to that, yeah, I also agree that we eat food for nutrition as a main requirement, but sometimes there are foods for indulgence as well too. As a regulatory and legislative, I mean, to protect the consumer, the daily value, the labels, the ingredient statement should be accurate, and that will require enough information for consumer to make the choice. There are a culture of food, as you mentioned, like sausages or cured food that needs to go through the certain processes. But not that people rely on those heavily as as a main food, but once in a while, they like to try different tastes, enjoy different tastes, and that's why they use it. But to protect them, a clear label, accurate daily values, I think, and you need to let them to make the choice. And also education in the school system is very important, early on to, teach the population the difference between the nutritional food and, any other type of junk food. Yeah.
Okay.
But we have to know that, let's say, if you make new plant-based dairy products or meat products, then people are asking, what's the protein content? But we are consuming too much protein in the Netherlands. So that shouldn't be the question.
What is food?
Yeah, well, if you have clean label, sure declaration, that's good for food. So if you go to the supermarket and you buy minced meat, there are so much ingredients, real minced meat. And if you compare it to plant-based minced meat, the declaration will be shorter.
Okay. I think we should kind of, circle is round. Thank you for pointing me out. I think we should come to a finish. I don't have shares in Beyond Meat. I didn't discuss this with our Californian friend, but there was a nice cultural difference between the retail in the US and the retail in the Netherlands. The best way to buy the burger is frozen. And frozen status in the US is not the same as the frozen status here. So if you have friends or family or relatives or your own with a pass for the special stores that supply the sources to restaurants and caterers, go there, buy the burger frozen, and then read the fucking manual and prepare it as suggested by the company. That was the end of the commercial. I thank you all for your attendance, the lively discussions, and the presenters. Bye, Dariush. See you later.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Zo, klaar.